and we have to start with plum tomatoes. So once you have them, either out of your garden, or you've gone to the farmer's market, or you're just getting them out of the grocery store, I cut them in half. Then you have to get the skins soft on these. So there's two ways to do this. Fill a pot of water, bring it to a boil, throw in all the tomatoes, and let them kind of cook until the skins begin to shrivel. That's going to take you about 5-10 minutes. Then you drain them. When it's cool enough to handle, you peel off all those skins. Big, big process. Here's an easier way. Cut the tomatoes in half, I put them in a bowl, and then I stick them in the microwave for about 4 minutes. Depends on what power your microwave is on. Those skins will shrink very easily, and you've eliminated that whole boiling step. So here they are. They are shriveled, shrunken up, and now we're going to pass them. That's where the name comes from. Passata means to pass. And I have my little passata machine here, you see? So what you do is you take the tomatoes, a little bit at a time that are softened, and you put them right into the machine. And then you pass them. And you turn. Now, if you didn't have something like this, you could use a Foley food mill. Pureed tomato juice. Now, what are we going to do with this? Well, this is going to become the foundation for our Sunday sauce. Step 1. Step 2 is next. So why exactly is this sauce called Sunday sauce? Well, I'm going to tell you. Probably a lot of you already know. This is a sauce that you made either on Saturday, some did, or you made on Sunday before you went to church. Everybody would come for Sunday dinner. You know, there are many, many variations on this. Some people put hard-boiled eggs in, some people put olives in. I am putting in herbs and cheese. So there is our garlic and parsley mixture. So here we have top round steak. You want to make sure that you're getting top round so that it's thinly sliced. So then I usually take either a piece of wax paper or plastic wrap like this, and you just want to pound it down a little bit with your meat pounder. See? This is a weighted meat pounder, just to get it all the same thickness. So here is some salt. And now we're going to add the parsley mixture over the top. Okay. As I say, you could add hard-boiled eggs, you could add olives to this, whatever you'd like. And once we have that, we can take some of this prosciutto di Parma and place it over the meat, like so. And then we want to give this some cheese. And the cheese that we're using today is Pecorino Romano cheese. So sheep's milk cheese, it's a harder cheese, it's a little saltier cheese, a little fattier cheese. This is the cheese that a lot of Italian Americans grew up with. All right, so we now have our 2 braciole, and we need some kitchen string. So you start at one end, make sure everything is compact, and you roll this up. Roll it up. And every time I do this, I really think of my Nonna Galasso, who made this every weekend. So you roll them up. And let me pat that one down a little bit. And this, of course, is going to be our second course. We're not going to serve this with the pasta, because we're also going to have pasta. This becomes your second course. So then you want to tie these little bundles with some kitchen string tightly, because you have to brown these now in a little bit of olive oil. So you don't want all that filling to fall out either. So get them tightly tied. Okay, what we're going to do now is get some onions soft in a little bit of olive oil. So you want a little extra virgin olive oil in a pan. So once the onion is a little bit soft, then I squeeze in, this is the fun part, oh, a good tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of the tomato paste. That's going to add great flavor. The onions are now well coated, so we can take them out. You can add garlic to this if you want, minced garlic, when you're doing the onions and the tomato paste. We also have garlic in the brajol, so depending on how much garlic you like, you can either add it with the onions or you can rely on the garlic that's already in your brajol. So once we take this out, now we can brown the meat. We can add back the onions carefully. In they go. Spread them around a little bit. This is going to be a really hearty sauce. So now we have the passata. Remember what I always tell you. Always pour sauce over a spoon. That way it doesn't splatter you. But you can see how thick the passata is. And you need enough to cover the meat. So probably half of this one too. Oops, there we go. That one's a little thinner, huh? Must have been the tomatoes. But anyway, we got enough in there. This is about 8 cups, I would say. All right, then with that, we need some fresh basil. So 2 nice sprigs of basil. We need some salt. And you may want to correct this later on. We need a little sugar for the acid in the tomatoes. Although a lot of people leave it out, my grandmother always put it in, so I'm putting it in honor of her. In goes the sugar, a grinding of pepper, and if you happen to have any red wine left over, you can add that too. Gives added flavor. So now while this is cooking, and it's going to take several hours, we're going to make the meatballs. So what are we going to use for our meatball mixture? Well, here you go. There are so many variants on this. Some people only use beef. Some people use beef and pork. Some people use beef, pork, and veal. Today we're using beef and pork, ½ pound of each. So let's give it some pepper. And there is a science to making a good meatball that isn't dry. I love my mother's meatballs because they've got such a great velvety texture. Here's some salt. We want an egg. I add that. And I like to bake the meatballs. A lot of people like to fry them. Some people put them in the sauce raw. I mean, there are just so many variations. Onion. Garlic, how much you like, a piacere, whatever you think. Flat leaf Italian parsley is a must in meatballs. Again, pecorino romano cheese. And then we want the breadcrumbs. This is the secret, folks. First of all, you got to start with breadcrumbs that you made yourself. Nothing from a box is going to equal what you have done, just with stale bread. And now, clean hands, you get in there and you make your meatball mixture. Did I say that I like to bake these? So if you're baking them, I usually put them on a non-stick baking sheet. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Take a clump and round them. here's a simple Sicilian pepper salad. You want to start with some garlic, and here's my trick for garlic when you have to mince it. Take a couple cloves, or however number you're using, and just sprinkle some salt over them. Then go shopping or something, come back 20 minutes later, and you'll be able to chop it. And you see what's happened here? If you look on my board, you see that liquid that's been coming out of the garlic that I chopped after I had the salt on it. So now it makes it almost creamy. See, almost creamy. And that's going to blend very well with this salad. So there is a tip on garlic. So once we have that, I'm going to put the garlic right here now because I have to do something else. But you see that water that came out of there just from adding salt to 2 cloves of garlic. So for this salad, I said it's Sicilian, and that means mint. Yes. So here we have some fresh mint leaves. And all we want to do is mince those with that garlic. This is just a nice, refreshing salad in the summer, and all we did to the peppers was char them like we did for the peperonata and the stuffed peppers. Took the skins off and then cut them into strips. See, so there they are. So you can use a variety of peppers, yellow, red, green, whatever you would like. And then this simple dressing is really going to make those peppers sing. And I especially like this on a really hot day when you don't want to heat up the oven too much. So I would do the peppers on the grill in this case. And then I make this early in the day because if you let the flavors mingle somewhat, really, really better. Then you get some crusty Sicilian bread, some semolina bread, or you get a ciabatta, and you mop up the juices of the salad with the bread. So there's our combo of garlic and mint. And that's going to go right in there. In it goes. And I'm not going to give it too much more salt because there's salt on that garlic. I'll just do a little. And then we want some extra virgin olive oil. Toss those peppers with all this mixture. Beautiful. And then, because in Sicily, one of the underlying flavors is something called agrodolce, sour and sweet at the same time, we want to add the sweetness part. And the sweetness part could be just red wine vinegar, white balsamic vinegar, or let me make a royal room for this, because I was telling you about the peppers I did earlier from Naples. You see, I went to the Cantina del Vesuvio, and I bought this special red wine vinegar. It's very, very syrupy. So just because you're here, and this is my prized vinegar, I don't use this for everybody, I'm just going to do a little syrupy dollop of this vinegar. You don't need much because it's very, very concentrate. And that's the sweet part. So this is Sicilian pepper salad with mint and garlic and Mary Ann's prized vinegar from Vesuvio. So you want to start with getting yourself some nice bell peppers. You can use red, yellow, green if you want, orange. And then you need to char them. So you can do that several ways. You can put the peppers whole, just like this, on your grill and just blacken them till they're blackened all over, blistered. Or you could put them on a bake sheet, stick them under the broiler in your oven. Take that pepper and just open it up like this, see? You want to keep it together because you're going to be stuffing it. And then don't rinse the pepper. People make that mistake. They rinse the pepper and they rinse all of the flavor away. So instead, just take a paper towel and wipe out the seeds. You may have to vacuum afterwards, but that's all right. So you take out those seeds with a paper towel. So if you start rinsing them underwater, you're just going to take away a lot of the flavor. And so what if there's a couple seeds left in it? You've eaten worse things than the seeds and peppers. Okay, so once it's like that, once you've got them like that, then you can set them aside and work on the filling. It's going to be an eggplant and cheese filling with capers and olives. We're going to let this go and give this a little bit of salt. We'll correct the seasonings later on as well, so some salt and some pepper. And we really want this to cook down until the eggplant has a little color on it and it's soft. You see how much this eggplant has now cooked down. That's because all of the water has been exuded out of it. And it's got a nice little color to it. So it's going to add really great flavor for the filling. So now we can take this out. So there it is. So now we want to let that cool down a little bit while we flavor that. So we want about a tablespoon of capers. So we're going to put capers in. Now you can buy capers in salt, you can get capers in brine. Then we have some oil-cured olives, and all we did was pit them. And you can buy oil-cured olives in a jar in the grocery store, or sometimes you find them in an open salad bar. So we're going to add that. That's going to add beautiful flavor. Black oil-cured olives. And then we have some plum tomatoes, because wow, at the foot of Mount Vesuvius, plum tomatoes are the best. So we're going to add those. This is going to be enough filling for about 8 peppers, 8 beautiful looking peppers. And then we want some fresh basil. Look at how pretty this is looking now. I'm telling you, my friend Larry, who does dishes for us on Ciao, Italia, told me something yesterday that really just hit home. He said, you know, Italian food is so pretty. And he's absolutely right. So we're going to mix that, and now we're going to add some fresh mozzarella cheese. Another product that comes from Campania. Yeah, we're staying right there south. So this is just 1 ball of mozzarella cheese that we have just cut up in little pieces. See? So we're going to add that. That goes in. And then we want some bread, so you can use stale bread for this. So any bread that you have left over, I usually just keep it in a bag in the freezer, and then I use it when I need it for whatever recipe I'm making. So just bread that you have lightly toasted in some olive oil and then diced up, see, like this. So you want to add some bread that acts as a binder for this. And mix that in. And while you're doing that, of course, the bread was going to absorb these other flavors from the tomatoes and the olives and the capers. Okay, that's looking good. So now we can clear the decks, fill the peppers. So just brush the dish rather, with olive oil. See? Okay. Then here are our peppers. So this recipe will serve 8 easily, maybe even more, depending on the size of your pepper. So they're laid out flat. We took all of the skin off, as you saw. And now we can take some of this mixture and put them right in the pepper. See, just like that. Don't overstuff them because they'll split. So just, you know, a couple heaping tablespoons, and then gently, gently roll them. If they split while you're doing this, don't worry, you can always fix it in the bowl. So there is one. And we're going to put something on top of that before we bake them. And here's our, they're very delicate, so you got to be careful here. So here's our second one. Oh my God, I have enough filling for an army. Again, just roll them gently. There's 2. So now the next thing we have to do is combine some breadcrumbs. So here we have some fresh dried breadcrumbs. About a cup, I would say, depending on how many peppers you're doing. And here is a 1/2 cup of grated Parmigiano Reggiano, right here. Remember, That's that cow's milk cheese that comes from Emilia-Romagna and has such a wonderful flavor when it's young, and then as it ages, it's great for grating. So we're going to mix the cheese and the breadcrumbs together. Depending on the size of the peppers too will determine how much of this you use. Okay, that's looking good. And now a drizzle of olive oil. Oven's on, 350. Here we go. So I'm on my way to Manarola, but I really think this is such a majestic view that you should take it all in. Want to go for a ride in my boat? All along this avenue, this via, are these boats all lined up as if somebody had parked their car. Let me give you a tip. You want to bring something home from the regions and the towns that you visit? Don't buy trinkets, buy spices. These are typical of the ones you'll find. Here's some rosemary. Now I prefer to use fresh herbs, but I'm showing you that these are some of the herbs that you find in Liguria. They particularly like marjorana. Marjorana is used in sauces. You've got thyme, timo. You've got salvia, which is sage. What else do we have here? More salvia. And then you have spices in a package. These are always fun to bring home to people. This is for if you want to make a sauce for a very flavorful and kind of hot spaghetti. So you would add these dried hot red pepper flakes. There's some nice looking spices here. So you have to remember that, of course, Genoa, we're very close to Genoa, was a major port, one of the 4 maritime ports of Italy. And of course, spice trade came through there, so this makes a lot of sense. So I may come back and get some of that later. Kind of a feast for the eyes, isn't it? Look at all the different pastas here. So the corzetti, we made those in the class with the students, if you remember, if you were paying attention. And here, limoncello. That would be nice to bring home. We'd have to wrap that really well, though. What do we got here? Cookies. Amaretti. Soft amaretti. Oh, made with chacatra. Chacatra is a really delicious sweet dessert wine. Chacatra. It's a dialect word. Here are all these. Yeah, there it is right here, the chacatra. Isn't that nice? You see, it says cuore di bue, and this is this tomato. And you see how ridged it looks? This is a great salad tomato, and it's from around here. Bra is not far from here. How far away is Bra?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. So it's a local tomato already, and it's early spring. So my mouth is watering for some of those.
I know.
So we should get a couple of those. I love just the look of it. They're not round. That's what I love about them. So maybe we should get what? 4? Make a salad?
And make a salad.
With some extra virgin olive oil?
And some beautiful cheeses.
Okay. Signore, 4 pomodori. Sì. If I weren't a cook, my next life will be as an archaeologist. You know why? Because I love discovering ancient things. And right now I'm at Pompeii. This is my 5th time here at Pompeii. And of course, there is so much to know, you would never know it in one visit. So I am really happy to be back, to look at the ruins of Pompeii, and to uncover so many new things that I've never known before. I know I look like Humpty Dumpty, but I'll do anything to get information about Pompeii. So you follow me along because we're going to discover things together. Off and on, I've been reading things about Pompeii. Here's what I know that I'm going to share with you. In 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius decided to blow its top big time, and it covered the entire city of Pompeii, of which today only a fraction has been excavated. But imagine all this buried under 25 feet of pumice and ash. And it came very unexpectedly to the people of Pompeii. Pompeii was a thriving city with all of the things that you come to expect from a city, commerce. And here in Pompeii, we're going to be seeing the streets that people walked on, the places where they bought food, where they ground flour, where they slept, where they ate, where they froze in time because they had little warning about what was to hit them. And when it did hit them, it buried this city in 2 days. When Pompeii was discovered, of course they discovered some of the petrified remains. And in these 2 cases, you can see what the anguish was on these people's faces when, of course, Mount Vesuvius hit. This is such a vivid kind of archaeological display that we have of that moment that caused the doom of 3,000 people. This is where warm food would be kept in clay pots that were sunk into these holes. And between the thickness of the clay pots and the heat of the stones, it kept the food warm. And so this is where Romans would come when they wanted to get something quick. This is where you would find lentil soup, chickpeas, fava beans, that kind of thing. So this is where warm foods could be bought right on the street, and the person serving you would be right in here, making the food and serving you. This was all uncovered during the excavation of Pompeii. I know I'm in Bologna because Bologna is a city of arcades, miles and miles of arcades. And I'm walking through one of them right now where there are all of the shops, very fancy shops, the latest fashions are all here in Bologna. This is a city of about 500,000 people. And of course, it's home to the oldest university. The University of Bologna was founded in 1088. And we often describe Bologna in 3 ways.
Bologna la grassa, which means the fat, Bologna la rossa, which means the red brick, which you find all over the city, and Bologna la dotta, which means the learned. So when I come to Bologna, I'm looking for culture, I'm looking for history, I'm looking for food. We can start right here in this very famous chocolate shop. I'm gonna go in and get a taste.
Lei è la signora Esposito, vero? Because they have something for you.
Oh, va bene. I'll have to share. Oh, look, I'm getting a special present. You know why? Because I can wield a spatula. That's the only reason. And this is the part of Bologna that's called La Grassa, because just take a look at this. Beautiful, fresh fruits, vegetables, even fichidinha here. And it's harvest time now for grapes, so you have all kinds of grapes, fresh melone, anything you really want. I'm hungry. Blackberries. Oh. They look like blueberries, but I'm not sure they are. Mirtilli is what I would call those in Italian. There's the kiwi, very popular here in Italy, in Emilia-Romagna. They grow a lot of kiwi. One of the biggest kiwi producers in Italy, or in the world, actually. I'm in the Palazzo dell'Archiginnasio, which was a center of learning for lawyers and doctors. And I'm actually in the room of anatomy. And in this room, this is where they dissected people. And behind me on the walls are all statues of famous doctors who practiced here. And you can imagine how students probably felt when they came in here and had to watch raw dissections. And I'm told that they had to do them in the wintertime between January and February. So it's a very interesting room, and it just goes to point out again why Bologna is called La Dotta, the learned, because this is where anatomy and law were instructions for students who came from all over to study here. What do you do on a lazy Sunday afternoon? You get in a boat on Lago di Como and you take a little trip around. This is Varenna. This is where we're going to depart from. You get on the ferry, and that's going to take us to Bellagio. And originally, the first place I ever went was right there, Cernobbio. Stayed right in Cernobbio, which was very pretty. But this whole lake, you know, is inverted Y, and it's really beautiful to go along the lake, see some of the beautiful villas, lots of old villas that are still here. I think George Clooney still lives here. I haven't gotten a call from him yet, so I don't know for sure. But anyway, it should be fun. We're going right there to Bellagio. Big tourist area.
and I've been here before, but I don't remember these gardens. I don't remember walking along these gardens, but they're very pretty. Very colorful, a nice change from all the boutiques and trinket shops that everybody seems to gravitate to. And of course, you've got the beautiful view there along the seashore. I imagine it would be a wonderful place to live year-round. And it never really snows here, from what I understand. It's kind of like a little microclimate, Lake Como. Of course, I'm going to have to explore the food, see what's around, but being that there's a lake here, obviously, we have a lot of fish, especially lake fish, perch, it's a big one. So a nice perch dinner. And oh, by the way, when Italians order fish in a restaurant, they get the whole thing, head and tail. Try it. Sometimes it just freaks people out, but it's a custom, and so you know what you're getting. So I may just order a wonderful perch with lemon and olive oil for lunch. My travels have taken me to the region of Liguria, and I know it for sure when I hear the roar of the sea and I look at these olives. They're just starting to turn, and when they're dark purple, these will be raked off the tree and made into olive oil. But the other reason I'm here is because I am in search of the best basil there is, and there is no better grown than in the region of Liguria. See this right here? Basilico Genovese, DOP, Denominazione Origine Protetta. In other words, this basil, Genovese basil, can only be made here. And this is the basil that is used to make pesto sauce. And it needs a small leaf because it has a better, delicate flavor than a big leaf basil would have. And the Genovese actually take out that little center vein right there. You see that? That's all taken out. All of this on this particular farm is harvested by hand. And they can plant basil year-round. So it takes just a few days for it to germinate. There are carpets of this particular basil all over this particular farm, but there are many, many types of basil. Over 60, I believe they told me. So at home, obviously, you want to use the smallest leaf basil that you can find. You may not be getting this, but please make it by hand. Just look in here. You can see all of the basil that's being grown and the boards that obviously they use to walk on to harvest the basil. See how small the leaf is? Small leaf basil makes the best pesto.
Ho voluto cominciare a fare le serre e da lì ho cominciato a fare basilico dal 1983.
Okay, in 1983 he finished his study. It's when he finished his study, and he started to come here in the company that his father established, and it's where he had the idea of starting with the basil.
Alle ultime si lascia venire il basilico un pochettino più grande.
The last ones they let it grow a little bigger.
Qua va per la gastronomia, per il ristorante, per la massaia.
This is the prime. The prime.
Yeah.
This
Cream
is
of
the
the crop.
prime basil you
Cream of the crop. You cook with basil. I do.
L'aglio lo devono sentire,
Okay.
If there's a little too little, you can add that.
Anche lui.
Di prendere poco, little e
Keep going. You're not done yet. You've got to add all that stuff. You're going to add all that to that. Then you got to add the olive oil.
It's very important that the basil got cultivated in the greenhouse. Because the one that is cultivated in the open air, it's much stronger.
Roll and go.
I don't have time. I got competition already.
Brava, sei veramente in gamba, capisci?
No.
Brava. Senti, come sempre c'è una piccola differenza, pur avendo usato gli stessi ingredienti, tra uno e l'altro.
One for Massimo.
Grazie, grazie.
A posto così. No, pare che basta così, questa roba.
Non ti preoccupate, ce n'è due, dai, cosa sta facendo?
Quanti che ne fai di questo?
6. Prosciutto, ci hai messo tutto?
Sì, già lo sa. Lui già lo sa.
last floor we had the servants they lived, we had the kitchen. For this reason the space was small. In case of fire,
So, my wife.
Area protect. Oh, wait.
Can you get me one? What?
We are standing on Corso Venucci in front of Sandri's. This is a really special pastry shop to me because when I first came to Perugia years ago, I took a lesson in here with Signora Carla, who is really a pastry magician. And she taught us how to make the eels of Trasimeno, which are very classic here, and lots of other things. And if you look in this window, you can see some of the beautiful desserts that you can find in Sandri's. These are particularly wonderful, the torts, the tarts, with the fresh fruit on top, done in a pastry shell that has a little pastry cream underneath. But for me, the real crowning glory, for me, this is what says Sandri to me, because these are the eels of Trasimeno, or what is called torciglione, meaning eels, because they're in the shape. They're a yeasted sweetbread with almonds, and you can use raisins for the eyes. They're shaped like eels because you find the eels here in the largest lake in Umbria, which is Lago Trasimeno. So the eels of Lago Trasimeno, delicious with a cup of espresso or cappuccino. But along with the eels of Trasimeno and the Sasha torts, they have terrific biscotti, all kinds of biscotti for dunking in your espresso or to have with your cappuccino, or maybe a little bit of vin santo. They also have wonderful chocolate candies in here that are made here, so you must come to Sandri's.
Extravergine olive oil. Mi raccomando extravergine. E la latte ligure tracciato, LLT. Ligurian milk.
Each 100 grams of flour, you need 100 grams of olive oil. Like this one, where you...
Like a big pizza pan.
Like a big pizza pan, you call it pizza pan, okay, exactly.
Questa è la particolarità di fare con le mani, bisogna fare questo procedimento.
That is one of the particular things you have to do.
In questo caso è importante che la farina sia, come avevamo detto all'inizio, elastica, perché sennò questo...
Because you couldn't, otherwise you couldn't do it and it would break.
Ricca.
Some crescenza LLT. Cheese. All around it.
Perché sennò il vapore farebbe crescere la... E poi si deve chiudere.
Sì. E che poi si... Guarda.
Here you have a compact picture of Liguria. You've got the sea, you've got the cliffs, you've got people living at the edge. This is what living at the edge means. If you look up there and you see how crowded and how compact this town is, and look at the spectacular view that they have. And then around that are all of these terraced cliffs with got olives, you've got grapes, you've got palm trees, pine trees. This is like heaven. This has got to be a hard life. We think we have it tough. Take a look at these pictures. And can you imagine having to carry something like that on your head and then walk down these steep inclines? This was difficult. And of course, here you see the terracing, how it happened. You terrace all of that, of course, to prevent some soil erosion, but also this is how they were able to farm, because if you look at the Cinque Terre, look, just the rocks go right into the ocean. It's just, there's nothing down there but rock. So steep mountains down to rock. So this was a very tough life for people. It's good to see something like this because it sets the scene, you know, amidst all of the tourism that's going on and all the little glitzy shops and all. This is what life was really like. You see them carrying the grapes down on their head with the baskets, and olives too. Olives and grapes, because of course we're in Liguria. So olives and grapes, two major products from the region. And this is the life these people knew. I'm actually here in Bergamo, outside of Bergamo, beautiful city in Lombardia. And who knew that just outside the city is this wonderful museum dedicated to, of all things, cooking pots. Now you know why I'm here. And originally this factory was used to make pipes for the war, but then later on it was turned into a factory to make cooking implements. And what they use here is aluminum. So they make all aluminum cookware. And the name Agnelli may mean something to you. And it is a line of very fine manufacturers, from cars to pots and pans. So I'm just taking a little tour around to see what kind of aluminum cookware is here and maybe buy something to take home, because God knows my kitchen needs another pot. take the lid off. You take out, look at this, it's got a little glass. Isn't that cool? Look, have you got, you put this in. It's got a glass insert. Put the cover on. You take this, you do that. Isn't that nice? So for instance, in something like this, if you were going to, you needed to melt chocolate. Right, if you needed to melt chocolate, this would be the thing to do. Put your you put the little water in here in the base.
I bet you don't even put water
Well,
in
maybe you don't even need the water. You just heat the pot slowly, you know, on low heat.
Yeah, so you don't shock it.
Isn't that a cute idea? That's a cute idea. I like
Oh,
that.
I thought you had.
And I've never smoked that.
You're right, I think for me to
Doesn't this look like tinsel? But really, nothing gets wasted here at Agnelli. This is scrap aluminum, and it's very sharp. So this is what's left over after they make the pots, and then they take this to nearby Brescia, a town near here, and they melt this all down, and then they start over, and they make more pots, so nothing gets wasted. But when I first looked at it, I thought it looked like a big bunch of tinsel. But no, it's aluminum. Now, this is no fooling around. This is what I call the ultimate pizza paddle. I have one of these at home, not exactly like this one. This looks like it's a nice commercial one for a nice long wood-fired oven. But isn't that beautiful? And it feels great in your hand. If you had one of these, why would you ever think of going to